Hello and welcome to Sava Insurance Company Webcast. Today we will present the unaudited financial results of the Sava Group and Sava Insurance Company for the period January to June 2016. Today's hosts are Sven Provanušić, Chairman of the Management Board, who will make the introduction, and Matej Taylor, member of the Management Board, and Polona Piłsudskiewicz, Executive Director of Strategic Finance and Controlling, who will present the financial results into more details. We will be happy to take any questions you may have and ask you please to send them in during the presentation in writing. Please enter your questions in the text box on the lower right side of the screen.
Good afternoon, and thank you for watching this presentation. My name is Sven Provanušić, CEO of Sava. The Management Board of Sava is satisfied with the first half result, especially we are satisfied with the two upgraded results. In the first half, Sava Group realized 17.1 million euro net income, which means 12.2% of turnover of equity. This is more than last year and more than that. These results we reach on account with a combined ratio, which we reach below 95%, and this is a result of cost optimization and conservative underwriting approach on the whole market insurance. Net income is mostly the result of non-life business in Slovenia, which contributes more than 50%, almost 50% of all net income. Very important source of this result is the synergy between two entities in Slovenia, the Maribor area, and this consolidation is in the process. We decided for consideration of this process, and we see opportunity for the further improvement because of this consolidation. Growth of gross written premium is higher by 6.1%, and the main driver of this growth is reinsurance business from South Korea, but on the other hand, I have to mention that non-life Slovenian market is shrinking. Net investment income is slightly lower than last year because of well-known general lowering of interest income in the market. But on the other hand, I have to tell that the quality of investment portfolio is improving from year to year. Exposure to Slovenia is lowering, and volatility of investment portfolio is much lower. Volatility is very important because we promise to the investor stable dividend policy. Solvency margin by Solvency II is relatively high. It's 192%, and presents our stable capital position. The main reason why Solvency II upgrade us from BBB+ to A-. And this upgrading opened us many doors to the new reinsurance market and to the new, more profitable reinsurance contract. This now we start with a new planning process for next year and long-term plan. And in this plan, we have to answer on the question how we will balance between key policies, dividend policies, growth policies, and expenses. We have to create right balance between growth and historic, which means that we have to have stable dividend policy, but on the other hand, because of our flexibility and good credit rating, we have to have also better growth and higher growth.
Good afternoon. As it was mentioned by Mr. Ivanušić, Sava reached a favorable development of business in the first half of 2015. We had a significant improvement in the net combined ratio, excluding foreign exchange differences. The ratio amounted to 94.8%. There were some bigger movements in the exchange in the currency in the first quarter, but these movement effects were smaller in the second quarter. As we can see at the bottom of page 2, the biggest contribution to the net profit came from the non-life segment in Slovenia, and this amounted to 10.8 million before tax. We also had a favorable contribution from the life segment. It was very stable compared to last year and amounted to 6.7 million euros. We had a favorable contribution from the reinsurance in the amount of 4 million before tax. This was slightly lower in comparison to the same period last year, where we had some favorable effects from the development of the business from previous years. We are very happy about the development on the segment of non-life, international non-life. The contribution from this segment was at the level of 1.6 million euros before taxes, and there were some smaller effects on the other segments. As we can see on the page 3, we had 3.1% growth on the consolidated gross written premium, and this growth mainly came from the reinsurance business, mainly outside European region, mainly in the Asian market. On the Slovenian non-life market, we mainly stayed at the same level to last year, but the dynamics were different by different insurance lines. On the international non-life, we're happy with the growth of 4.7%. This growth mainly is coming from Serbian market, Macedonian market, and some slight growth as well on the Montenegro market. On the life segment in Slovenia, we experienced a drop in premium. However, on the international life market, we grew by 3.8%. However, this segment represents still a smaller part of the salary consolidated business. If we're looking at the contribution by each quarter on page 4, we see that the biggest contribution in the second quarter of this year came from the underwriting result. This was mainly due to the non-life segment. Since in the first half of this year we had no major catastrophic events in the region, and as well we are showing the results on our improvements which were due, what we are focusing from the last period to improve processes in the underwriting and in the terms of business. We had the contribution of 2 million on the investment result, which was lower than in the first quarter of this year, and this was mainly due that we had smaller effects of currency changes in the second quarter, as it was mentioned before, because in the first quarter there were big currency movements on the market, which showed on our position that we had a very favorable investment result, and since we are following the matched currency position, we had the development in the negative side, on the other side on the liability. And this caused that the underwriting result was lower in the first quarter, and we had a very good result on the investment side. The life result was fairly stable, and we have some smaller effects from other segments. If you are looking at the contribution by different lines as well as geographically, on page 5, we see that the main contribution came from non-life Slovenia in the amount of 5.9 million euros. Then we have 2.1 million of contribution from the non-life international, and as it was mentioned before, 3.8 million of contribution from life Slovenia. As explained, we had some currency effect on the reinsurance, and there were some smaller effects on other segments. On the next few slides, we are presenting the results by operating segments. On slide 6, we are presenting the reinsurance business. The gross premium written of this segment increased by 20.6%. The growth is coming mostly from South Korea and mostly proportional business. There will be future positive developments coming from the rating upgrade to A- from Standard & Poor's, but also in the future we will keep prudent underwriting policies, as we will still be focused on stability of the portfolio, even though we believe stable growth is possible on the international market. The underwriting result of this segment amounted to 2.1 million euros of negative result. The decrease in the underwriting result is affected by the increase in the outstanding exchange reserves because of the foreign exchange differences. Excluding these differences, the result amounted to 2.12 million euros of positive result, which is slightly lower than last year, but in 2014 there were positive developments from the underwriting year 2012, when there have been some claims outstanding releases in this segment. The investment result of the segment amounted to 6.1 million euros. This result includes 3.8 million euros of foreign exchange differences. So excluding these differences, the investment result is at a very similar level than last year. The profit of the segment amounted to 4.0 million euros, and excluding the differences coming from foreign exchanges, the result amounted to 4.3 million euros. We are excluding these differences. We are very happy with the development of the ratios, which are presented at the bottom of the slide. On slide 7, we are presenting the results of the non-life Slovenian business, which is the biggest segment in Sava Group. The gross premium written increased a little bit by 0.8%, which is also the same drop as the Slovenian insurance market. The underwriting result of the segment amounted to 6.2 million euros. We already mentioned that in the first half year we had no catastrophic events, and in 2014 there was a 5 million euros of effect coming from the ice edge damage. We estimate this result is very good, and it's also the driver of the first half year result of the group. The investment result of this segment amounted to 3.6 million euros. It's slightly lower than in the same period of last year, and it's under pressure of the lowering interest rate. The profit of this segment amounted to 10.8 million, and we are very happy with the development of the combined ratio, which amounted to 94%, and is slightly lower than the long-term target. On slide 8, we are presenting the non-life international business. The gross written premium of this segment increased by 4.7%. Most of it coming from the increase in our Serbian entity, where there has been an increase in NPL tariffs already in 2014, having also effect on the premium in 2015.
The Macedonian entity recorded a 7% growth and also contributed to the growth of the segment. There have been two negative developments of the premium, and it's on the Kosovan market, where there's still pressure on the health premium, and on the Croatian market, where there's still negative effects coming from the recognization of the MTPL segment. The underwriting results of the segment came very close to zero, and we are quite happy with the development of this segment. The investment result is slightly lower. Also on the market outside Slovenia, there is pressure on the interest income. The profit of this segment amounted to 1.6%, 1.6 million euros, and it's becoming an important part in the structure of the profit. I would like to point out the combined ratio, which amounted to 98.3% and became positive. And in the environment when the investment result is shrinking, we believe that we have to build this technical result further. On slide 9, we are presenting the results of the life business in Slovenia. The gross premium written dropped by 3.6%. The drop is due to the fact that the number of policies that mature or terminated was bigger than the number of new underwritten policies. The market, after several years of shrinking, began to grow, and the growth was at 3.6%. We believe this segment has future potential growth, and also covering group will be able to catch it. The net expense ratio of this segment is falling because of the aging portfolio. The investment result of the segment is slightly lower than last year. There's 0.6 million euros of lower interest income, and the second reason is that last year there has been a 1.9 million euros of capital gains coming from Slovenian government bonds and foreign bank bonds. The profit of the segment increased by 6.7%. Having in mind that in the investment result of the segment was lower, there has been a positive effect coming from the released reserves after the asset liability test in the amount of 3.8 million euros in this segment. On slide 10, we are presenting the Life International segment. This segment had a growth of 3.8%. There was a good growth on the Croatian and Serbian market, the first one of 15% and the second one by 10%, and the negative development of 10% in the Kosovan market. The net expense ratio is decreasing as the portfolios are growing, but they are still relatively high as the portfolios are still small. The investment result of the segment is at a similar level than last year, and the profit improved slightly and is slowly coming towards the break-even point.
On page 11, we're showing our investment portfolio. In the first half of this year, the investment portfolio increased by 26.8 million euros, and this was mainly due to the positive operating cash flow. We had some positive contributions, net contributions as well from the exchange differences and other investment income. However, on the other hand, we had some changes in the other direction in the amount of 6.3 million euros due to the fall in the bond prices. The total amount of the fair value reserves at the end of the first quarter amounted to 12.1 million euros, and as it was mentioned, it was reduced by 6.3 million euros compared to the end of the last year, since there were few realization of capital gains from this amount. As we can see on page 12, the structure of the investment portfolio mainly changed in the favor of corporate bonds. In this segment, we increased the amount of covered bonds and some other corporate bonds. We did with the high emphasis on the diversification. We as well increased
small amount investments in European equities. On the other hand, we reduced the amount invested in government bonds, and this was mainly due to the maturities in this segment. On page 13, we can see that in the first half of the year, we mainly increased investments in the region outside Europe. This was mainly due to follow the current domestic policy, since our reinsurance business was growing outside the European region. On the other hand, we further reduced the exposure to Slovenian investments, which amounted to 37.1% at the end of June 2016. If we're looking to our investment return on page 14, we see that the net investment income amounted to 15.8 million euros. The main contribution came from the interest contributions. There were some smaller realization of capital gains, and the important contribution was as well from the foreign exchange movement. If we exclude the effect of foreign exchange movement, the net investment income amounted to 12 million, which was a bit lower than last year. And this lowering mainly arises from the lower interest rate and as well lower realization of capital gains. So the return on the financial portfolio, that we see below on page 14, amounted to 3.2%, and when excluding foreign exchange differences to 2.4%, which is mainly in line with what we planned for this period. If we are looking to capital movement to equities on page 15, we see that the level of capital stayed roughly at the same level comparing to the end of the last year. We had a positive contribution from the net profit in the amount of 17.1 million. However, on the other hand, we had movement in the other direction in the amount of 6.3 million euros due to the smaller lowering of the comprehensive income due to lower bond prices. We as well booked a liability of 9.1 million euros due to the decision of the General Assembly of Hungary to pay out dividends in this amount, and there were some other smaller adjustments in the equity. The share price summary, as we can see on page 16, was mainly following the Slovenian market. We see that the overall Slovenian market showed a decline in this period. We see as well that, as it was mentioned, our book value stayed roughly at the same level at 16.47 euro per share. And if we are comparing this to slightly lower market price at around 14, we see that in the price to book region we are now below 1. With this, I would like to conclude today's presentation and would like to thank you for your attention. At this stage, we will be responding to the questions received.
We have received 2 questions in advance. I'll read the first one. Does Sava plan recapitalization at any of its units abroad in the remainder of 2015?
We have currently running the capital increase in Sava Životno osiguranje in Serbia, which is due to the increase of the census. which was increased by the same number, and this is in process at the moment.
Thank you. The next question reads, do you see any acquisition opportunities in Montenegro, Kosovo, and Macedonia over the medium term?
Thank you. Our market share in those markets are high enough, and we don't plan further acquisition there. Our way is organic growth there.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, we will give you a few more moments. You can send your questions through the inbox on the lower right side of the screen. If you have any questions, please send them in writing on the lower box on the right lower side of the screen. Sorry. If there are no further questions, I would like to thank you all for joining us today. And until the next opportunity, stay well. Oh, here we are. Here we have some questions, sorry. The next one is, what effects do you expect due to improved credit rating for this year and 2016? This would be a question from Mr. Chevron.
Hello. The new rating is, of course, a new opportunity, a new tool, which will help us to open some doors. But the market is still soft. The conditions on the international insurance market are still, let's say, worsening. So we can, of course, look optimistically at the future, but we cannot expect huge increases of premium. It will help, of course.
Thank you. We have another question, and it reads, what are your views regarding potential on Slovenian life insurance market? Will you present any new products in order to gain market share?
Our strategy on the life segment is to shift our products more to the risk side and to focus on unit products as well, and to introduce some new products that will focus more on less guaranteed obligations from the insurance institutions. And we will introduce. We are working on this strategy, and as well include this in the planning process that we are, as is mentioned, we are starting now.
Thank you. The next question is, what potential do you see in the life reinsurance, and what are risks regarding this segment?
Yes. In life insurance on the worldwide markets, the results are very good. Usually the volatility is lower than compared to the non-life sector. Of course, the market is full of professional insurers, but anyway, we have the intention to write more business on this side as well, and we are optimistic on this. We hope we reckon to write more business in life insurance. Now with the A-, it will be easier, of course.
Yes. I think we have another question. What is the target allocation of the financial investment portfolio going forward?
We will, for this year, we plan some further increases, but smaller in equity portion. We are looking at, as well at real estate investments and real estate in terms of real estate funds and some direct investments on the Slovenian market, and as well some infrastructure investments. However, this will be roughly smaller amounts if we compare this to the total size of our portfolio. If we're looking to the main structure, it will stay close to the structure as you can see now.
Thank you. Reinvestment portfolio structure, yes. Do you plan to carry on the tendency of decreasing government bonds share in the portfolio?
We will further follow the plan to reduce investments in Slovenian market. This is due, as we explained in the past, to the risk management, that we don't want to be too dependent on one market. However, we don't have a negative view on this market, but we would like to be more diversified.
Okay. There's a question about synergies with NKBM. Part of synergies included also stronger cooperation with NKBM. Is this realizing? Mr. Ivanovic?
Yes. Thank you. We signed the contract with NKBM 1.5 years ago, and we started with cooperation with bank assurance. We are optimistic because this cooperation and result is increasing, but we cannot assume how volume will be in the future. We haven't calculated yet because there are many assumptions. We don't know what strategy will have NKBM in the future because of new owners and so on.
Thank you. I believe these are all the questions we received, and I would like to conclude today's event at this moment. Thank you again for your attention. Till the next time, stay well.